Hello and welcome to this brand new show, Show Up, Stand Out with Juliet Stapleton. I'm Juliet Stapleton and my guest today is the wonderful Fiona Clark all the way from the UK. Hi Fiona.
Hey. Hi there, lovely to be here. Thank you, Juliet.
You're very welcome. I'm so delighted because this is going to be an amazing chat. Fiona is a midlife coach. This is absolutely brilliant. I'm middle-aged as well, so for me it's so brilliant. But the topic we want to discuss is very close to my heart. Let's just start with introducing Fiona. And Fiona, talk a little bit about yourself and what made you the midlife coach. What is it?
Okay, well, it's a bit of a long journey, actually. I mean, I have actually been in personal development for the last 25 years, and I've done all sorts of things throughout that time. And the midlife bit came around in a couple of years, well, probably no more than that. Due to my ex-husband doing, it's a very sort of quick story. We'd moved overseas, moved to Asia, been in the Philippines for 4 months. We'd lived in Hong Kong previously. 4 months after moving there, after our 15th wedding anniversary, he said, "You don't do it for me anymore." End of marriage, end of 22 years. That was the end of that story. So it threw me into a midlife crisis, whatever you want to call it, as I think he had gone into his own. And so from that point, actually, was when I went into further development, further searching for what was wrong with me. You know, it always comes back to what have I done wrong? I'm not good enough, you know, blah, 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 all the mindset stuff. And that's when I also did my coaching training. I actually officially became qualified as a coach down there, and I did all sorts of things. I did a lot of the EFT training because I needed to understand these questions that kept coming up in my mind. As to what was wrong, why had this happened, who was I now? Because I realized actually I completely lost myself. So this is what took me on the journey, and this is where I am now, because I understand very well the issues, and it's not always just about a relationship breakdown. I think a lot of it is it comes down to losing who we are as a person, and that was one of the big messages that came out of this was, who the heck was I now?
I
so that's
agree.
a short story on how I sort of got
That's fantastic. And you know what? It's so natural. We do get caught up in routines of life, and we do, you know, even by wanting to please your other half or your family members, yes, you are definitely sometimes forget to look inside and say, do I want this? Is it what is aligned with my life? I totally 100% relate, and I tell this story on my lives very often that I feel like the whole of my 30s, the whole 10 years, I was not what I was, let's say, when I was 27 and what I am
absolutely.
now. I was a completely different person, and there's no one to blame. It was just me trying to step back. I got in relationships, and my husband is a fantastic, extremely talented, very energetic, very powerful person. And I think I just took the back seat like I sometimes might do, you know, even though I'm exactly the same. He said to me when we started going out that he was looking at me and looking in the mirror, you know, the way I was. And it took me 10 years of doing nothing and not finding myself to actually then, when I turned 40 last year, to just say, hang on a second, I need to discover who that person within is. And even though it didn't come at that stage through a tragedy, like, you know, because it is a tragic feeling rejected is a tragedy. But then, you know, the sad thing is that a lot of people grow together after so many years, and they start blaming each other for that thing that they don't feel fulfilled. And yet it's nothing to do with each other. It's actually to do with themselves.
Totally. And I think, Julia, actually going back to that is the key issue. And so, I mean, I didn't realize that. I mean, I hold my hands up. I had no idea. It was like, why doesn't he love me anymore? What have I done for that to actually happen? And I realized one of the biggest points was that I'd lost my power, my personal power. And I thought, I used to be very confident. I was always very confident, very capable, you know, blah, blah, blah. And as you were saying, it's a gradual process that this sort of part of you that just disappears, and then you realize that, oh my God, you wake up one day and it's like, whoa. But no one can take your power away from you unless you give it. you give that consent for it to be taken away. So this is the key now, is to realize that actually to regain our self-worth, our self-esteem, our confidence, we have to know who we are. And we have to keep connecting back to that inner part of ourselves to do that.
I think that this should be taught in schools.
Totally.
Our children should be taught into pausing ever so often, once a week, once a month, and say, where am I at?
Yeah.
And start
Can you imagine the world if that actually happened?
I know. I think the worst realization with me, I have a 17-year-old and she's fantastic.
Oh, wow.
Everything is, yeah, she's a very intelligent girl and she's really good person, but she's very hard on herself, she always pushes more. And I've recently seen that it was me who I was looking at, and I am very hard on myself. I didn't even realize that. Yeah. But I was shocked thinking that, because we don't bring children up with all these principles of self-development that we later in life seem to be so keen on, our children then by the age of, let's say, 17, there's tons of issues. There's things that, and I'm saying, oh my God, I messed up my child already, We have very open relationships, so I just said that to her, She said, yeah, sure, you couldn't mess me up more than I'm already messed up. And but it's
a huge responsibility.
But that's true, and it's a little bit shocking, but sure, but at least now I'm trying to, direct her into trying to consciously work on herself. I also had last year for me was a situation where I've experienced firsthand a disaster in your life where you just basically at the crossroads and you have to decide whether you're going to break down and just destroy yourself, or you're going to actually pull yourself together and ask all those questions that you normally don't, where you
absolutely.
are. Is it about you? My husband got diagnosed with a very serious illness last year, and thank God he is much better now, but that moment, when you get some sort of news like that, it's not about you. It's about another person. So it's another person's battle. And you have to then decide what you're doing. So for me, my manifestation was to start an online business. And I did.
Well, you're obviously doing really well at it, so that was a good diversion apart from anything else as well.
I took all the energy and I said there's no way I'm going to give negative energy to this disease because it will feed it. So I of course naturally in my life straight away some people came up with this information, don't do that, and I didn't. And then I took this energy and without shying away from what was happening and hiding in this online business, I just channeled it. And I thought that was in a way for some people might have seemed that it was a weird thing to do when your partner is sick and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to do live videos, but he was in the hospital and I was at home, so, but it actually did definitely work. I asked Fiona, guys, before this show, what can we, the certain topics, and one of the questions that she suggested we discuss, and it was something to do with her marriage, as she just told us, was how she discovered through the challenge and the struggle that she experienced when her marriage ended, how she discovered the key to loving herself. So Fiona, I want to talk about this.
Yes, well that's an interesting one because when we go through any challenges, because actually I have to say, and I know even I said myself, this was completely unexpected for me what happened, with my ex. I mean, it was a complete and utter shock, and having actually living overseas where I didn't have any support as well, it really was extremely challenging. My boys were very young at the time as well. But it took me a long time, a lot of personal development, a lot of searching and a lot of digging of all the old crap of the self-belief that I'd actually taken on board as my own, like not being good enough, not being lovable, all these sort of things, and the fear of moving forward. And I had to get rid of all those beliefs. And obviously there's still layers of them, so they still do perk their heads up. I'm not saying that I'm perfect by any means. It's an ongoing process, as we know. But what I realized was, and, as we evolve, and we are evolving all the time, as time goes on, and even now I'm learning that actually it is, number one, it is nobody's responsibility to love you. Because if you do not love yourself, then how can anyone else love you? You know, and this, I see myself, all I want, you just want to be loved. We want to be loved. You know, we want to find someone who is going to love us. It is such a load of, it's just not the right thing to do, because until you learn to love yourself, and it is probably the hardest thing, because we've been told for so long since we're this big, you know, that we're not good enough, that we're not lovable, you know, and to a certain extent. So I'm not saying everyone is like this, but that had happened to me. So,
no, it's true. There's 9 out of 10 parents, I think, absolutely, are giving the children completely wrong impression, even when they're loving. It's just what they say.
Absolutely. So it is a process, and it's a continual process of actually going into a quiet space where you get out of the mumbo jumbo. I call it the committee up here. And they're having a conference. You've got to get rid of the conference. You've got to get rid of the committee, because when you're in that mind space of negativity, nothing will change, because you just go round in circles. So the most important thing is to get out of the mind space, to get out of that chatter, and to get into a quiet space, because from that quiet space, you can connect to your wisdom, you can connect to your heart and soul, and that's where you know that the love is. And the love is there, it's just been layered. It's like a Russian doll, you know, as you take all those dolls out, you've still got that little doll inside. And what we need to do is to get rid of all the layers of crap that we've accumulated, which actually, and this is one thing I want people to understand, it's not your stuff. It's somebody else's stuff that's just indoctrinated from you, whether it's your parents, your school, your churches, or just society. It's everything that because we weren't born like that. We were born this beautiful, innocent, pure, wonderful being. And, you know, we have to get back to that. So I always look at that little doll and allow that doll to just blossom and bloom once again. And that only comes from the self-love. And that is found from going into a quiet space to actually listen to what is going on within you.
That is exactly what happened to on those days when I was telling you about my husband's diagnosis. You know, the first advice that I got from my energy mentor was to just sit quietly and look inside your soul, and, you know, get your thoughts melting into your heart and just ask, is it about me?
Yes.
And that's when I knew it's not about me, right? So the funny thing in terms of neuroscience, the funny thing is that all this chatter, there's a tiny part of the brain just right here that is in charge of this. It's nothing. We have this whole beautiful system there, and yet it's this little small chatter that we're paying most attention to. And that's only a protective mechanism. That's all it is. You know, it's not the true you at all. So when I've learned this, you know, and I was saying to myself, you know what, if this is not really who I am, and this is not my voice talking, I just say, shut up, brain. And I actually had conversations with my brain, because I tend to, I used to be walking around in circles in my own head, fixating on tiny little negative thing instead of doing something productive and, you know, making my dreams come true.
And that's so true. And I think so many people, you know, you just need to walk down the street and you walk down to to Sainsbury's, and I just look at people, and I look at people's eyes, and I just think, my God, you're already dead. You're walking as a dead person, because, you know, there is no connection to the inner part. You know, they are so up here or so in the physical, but they're not in the heart and soul. And I'm so pleased that people are talking about this more and more and more now, that it is, you know, it's not something that was just woo-woo, that when I first started in personal development, we didn't really talk about things like that. Or, you know, I would only talk to people who were really in my sort of small support network about it, because people thought you were off your head when you started to talk about.
That's true. And it's a new thing that it's sort of become,
meditation and stuff.
It's becoming popular. It's becoming open-minded. I have a student, a client who was trying to start a mindfulness courses business 5 years ago, and that was a concept nobody understood. And right now everybody knows what mindfulness is, and they teach it in schools.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's completely new.
Absolutely.
It's a shift, like a global shift, I think. And
it's wonderful because it is happening, as you say, it is happening globally. And I think, because we've got this wonderful internet, when it does work amazingly well, we can connect like we are now to so many more people in one go. And that is so powerful to get the messages across. So people can actually, it's a trickle. So they can start to see, because, if you don't know anything about personal development, this can be really like another language. It really can be completely, bizarre and alien to so many people. So it's just a matter of consistency and trickling all the messages through until they become a little bit more comfortable with them.
That's so true. And then as entrepreneurs, because we're both running our business and
Absolutely.
our audiences are entrepreneurs. And it is true that, without constantly working on yourself, probably 80% of the work you need to do on your own self.
Absolutely.
And the 20%, the rest, it just aligns as well, So I'm learning as well. The more I'm learning to focus on my business, the more it is all about my own head and the chatter and the focus and the concentration.
Absolutely.
And, deciding and planning. So this is quite interesting. When it comes to my topic, which is online visibility, this chatter and this whole thing, this is the biggest obstacle that people and entrepreneurs have for not building their audience or not showing up.
Yeah, totally agree.
So I want to ask you, would you have any tips or how to deal with the little, I have conversations, that's
the
my
mind
tip.
check. Well, do you know what, Julia? What I use is the tapping. That is because I've done so many different things through my sort of personal development career, I have got I call it a kit bag of skills of all sorts of different things. And one of the biggest ones I use, and everyone knows me, who knows me will know, is the tapping.
Can you,
so EFT tapping.
just for those people who are not familiar with EFT, what is it?
All right, so tapping, it's called emotional freedom technique, but actually I use the faster emotional freedom technique because it is faster and it's slightly different, and I find people find it a lot easier to use. But it really is, we're tapping on different points on the face and the body, and these are basically their acupuncture points, or they're points of the energy meridians. So people who know, if put it this way, it's like if you're having acupuncture, you have needles in the points to energize or unblock those energy lines, but we're tapping them. And so every meridian has different emotions connected to them. So it's not like we're just willy-nilly tapping different parts of our head and body. There are specific reasons for them. And why this is so powerful is because if you are in pain, if you are stressed, if you are sick, your body is out of balance. Simple. And so this is just one way to put your body back into balance. And 90% of the time, I would say that we are sick or stressed or in pain is because of what goes on up here, and we don't deal with it. And I say it's like a filing cabinet. You get a stress, or you get something that's worrying you, or whatever it may be. You stick it in a file, you put it in the filing cabinet, and eventually the filing cabinet becomes full. So it'll explode, and it will come into your physical body, because you're going to listen. If you're in pain or if you're in sick, you will listen, and you'll do something about that. But we're not trained to do something about our thoughts. And so this is what I use for the mindset, and I use it all the time for all sorts of things, anything and everything, basically. So if I'm feeling a bit nervous about something or anxious, as we're talking about doing live videos, then I will tap at the beginning. So for example, you could just use these 2 points underneath the collarbone, because that's kidney meridian. Kidney meridian relates to fears, anxieties, panics, dreads. So even if you just breathe and just tap here, that can bring your body back into a balanced situation. So you're feeling much calmer. It's as simple as that.
It's so true.
So that's one thing I do. But obviously the breath is the other thing, the simplest thing, because most of us don't breathe properly.
No.
And particularly if we're stressed, we're anxious, we breathe from the upper part of our chest and we get that tight breath. Whereas we want to do that long, deep breathing from the base of our stomach. Take long, deep breaths, because then you're in the present moment. You're not up here.
That is true. Guys, if you're watching this, and I know because I am sharing this show in different communities, and some of them are more sort of maybe spiritual communities, and some of them are just like real pure marketing entrepreneurs communities.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you're a marketer and entrepreneur, you know, a male maybe, not in touch, you're like, okay, this is all mumbo jumbo. But believe me, slow down and breathe. Slow down and breathe. This is the simplest, and you know what? It's the same in business advice or any kind of mentoring. The simplest things, the ones that we actually sort of don't do because they're too simple, they're the ones that are most powerful in my experience.
And most effective.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's completely true. And just by breathing, you know, if you watch a baby breathing, they breathe from their stomach, as we should do. I don't know what age or what we're doing when we start to lose that proper way of breathing. But when you're conscious of the breath, nothing else is in your mind. And so that's why it's so powerful, because it's bringing you back right here and now.
And that brings us down to in the morning when you get up.
Yeah.
Just
everything.
If you don't meditate, if you don't listen to just a few deep breaths, that's a meditation in itself. But it really sets you for a good day, or you know, it slows you down and then gives you that good charge. So definitely use that. Fiona, this was fantastic. Now I want to see if I can ask you anything else as well. We're talking about the mind chatter and we're talking about the disasters. And where can we find you?
Okay, so I have got several places actually. I mean, I'm on Periscope as well. If anyone uses Periscope, not a lot of people do, except for us, maybe Julia. And that says Fiona Clark. I've got my business page is Fiona Clark Midlife Empowerment Coach. My group is called the Magnificent Midlifers, which I just love it. I mean, this was a new group I started in October, so I'm still building up numbers there. But I absolutely love my Magnificent Midlifers. So people can find me on there, and my website again is www.fionaclark.co.uk.
So very, very simple. You know what? I love this Magnificent Midlifers because I find that, you know, your midlife is the best time of your life.
Got to be.
You know, when you're young, you probably don't know that a couple of wrinkles doesn't matter. But it's the confidence you have, it's the knowledge you have, life experience you have, and you can really, truly start enjoying your life, you know, provided that you're not caught up in here and you already started, you know, developing yourself. But I absolutely love this. I love my 40s. I think that's where, you know, one of my clients owns an award-winning Mother of the Bride boutique here in the local town.
Oh, right.
She started her business and she opened that when she was 47.
Oh, gosh.
I adore this woman. She is just, and this is the time where you can really take control and make magic happen. And so many people give up on themselves the moment they hit 40s and they're like, oh. But seriously, guys, this is where you can be truly magnificent. Absolutely.
And that's why, I mean, I think there's so much power behind that word, because I truly believe, you know, I mean, and I don't go into all the connotations of, you know, the doom and gloom and the crisis, and it's all this heaviness, you know, whereas actually, it's exactly what you say. You can make of it what you want. And we've all gone through different experiences. And it's really what you do with those experiences, whether you want to sit and, you know, be a victim to those experiences. And I'm not making light of this because we've all gone through huge challenges. But look at the gift they've given you, because they've given you hopefully something that you can take forward as, you know, a stronger person, more confident, you've got more wisdom, whatever it may be, so that you can live your life as a magnificent midlifer rather than living in the doom and gloom and the victim status and poor me sort of thing.
That is so true. You know, if you think about how nature on Earth, on planet Earth, how is nature is designed, you know, nothing is ever given, no challenge is given to any creature that they cannot overcome if they want to. Yes, of course, It's a survival game. Of course, the strongest will survive and the weakest will not survive. That's okay. But it's the same with us in the life challenges. And anything life throws at you, you know, whether it's, you know, your husband says it doesn't love you, or, you know, you get a disease or anything like that, there is a reason why it came into your life, and you can overcome it, or you can find a way to deal with it. As long as you are not, yes, if you want to, exactly. And I love that. And I really, really definitely see this. I see people losing battles. I see people winning battles. And it's always mind over matter. It's always your decision, which is, it's just a fantastic thing to realize, isn't it? That it's everything.
I think also an important point to make there, Julia, is that I know there's so many people that want to do something different, but they don't know how. And they're in their safety zone. So that feels comfortable. It doesn't feel good, but it's safe. And I think, this is where people need support. They need help. They need assistance. And it's actually reaching out and knowing that, and I never make bones of it, you are going to feel uncomfortable for a short while until that feels comfortable. And then you take another step until that feels a little bit more uncomfortable and it feels comfortable. The key is to take small steps.
That's right.
Because if you're going through something that's tough, it's to take small steps and get support, get the right coaching, whatever it may be to help you to move forward, and so that you can make the most of it, because life is too short.
But it can be very enjoyable. Yes, it is a cliche and it is short, but you can make the most of it, or you can sit in the corner and feel sorry for yourself, and then it just goes. So let's make the most of it, guys. Now, this was our first standout show, and I thought it was a great success. Thank you so much, Fiona, for being my
welcome.
First guest without technical difficulties, I should mention. But the first guest with the technical difficulties is coming back, so it's going to be awesome anyway. Thank you. We're going to put Fiona's website in the description of this video. So, guys, if you want to get in touch, if you find that Fiona maybe is someone who can help you move forward, definitely get in touch. Yeah.
Sorry, Julia, interrupting you. No, I'll tell you in a minute. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, this is the end of the show. So, unless you have anything to say to the audience?
Well, I was just going to say, if anybody would like it, I've got a video, and we're talking about the tapping for anxiety. I've got it, and I'm more than happy to send this out to anybody. I've got 3 videos, one 6-minute video, how you can take yourself from a place of stress into a place of calm with this tapping method. Very easy. What simple tips and what you can do to when you get up in the morning. So a morning booster, and 4 simple tips on how you can get a good night's sleep. So if anybody wants those, I'm more than happy just to email them out, because that will give them just a little bit of an insight as to what they can do for themselves.
Perfect. Guys, just send a PM to Fiona, and she'll hook you up with those videos. Now, it was Fiona Clark, the Midlife Coach, and Juliet Stapleton, the online visibility strategist, tonight with you. Thank you so much for watching this, and I will see you at the same time tomorrow night with another amazing guest, mindset coach, Carla Trigo, all the way from New York. Thank you very much, guys, and bye-bye. Have a good night. Bye.